creationism in science lessons.
I think it could be quite fun. I mean, what exactly is creationism anyway? I mean, there's so many examples of creationism.
Well, actually, I think
and that's why I think it's
the OCR syllabus, it just says that science teachers have to mention other interpretations of the fossil record or something like that, which basically means creationism.
So
The OC, what is the OC?
And this is what scientists think. They have the tree of life on one side. This is a creation thing.
Exactly.
There's lots of parallel lines.
But I didn't think that creation specifically dawned across the riff. I thought they completely wrong there.
I don't know that much about it, actually.
Actually, no.
Well, I think young
flood geology, if you've ever heard of it.
Flood geology?
Flood geology.
Oh, flood geology, yes, I've heard of flood geology.
And that is
It
the
involves whipping
creationist.
yourself.
Sorry?
It involves whipping yourself.
That is the creationists trying to tackle the fossil record.
But they've got something wrong in the sequence. Or haven't they spotted that?
I haven't bothered to look too much into it. Just by its very definition, it just has that famous bullshit, you know.
They claim that there's such thing as a geological column, among other things.
Right.
I was told one time by the guy that found the Titanic.
nice
He was one of these
portraits.
like oceanographic explorers, whatever. And one of his things was he was looking in the like the Bosphorus and the whatever. They were saying, okay, well, you know, this was one of the regions where a lot of that mythology, you know, would have come from. And they said, okay, what should we look for? If we were looking for evidence of, you know, a major flood that would have been catastrophic, what would we expect to see? So, well, we'd expect to see, you know, saltwater fossils, you know, and then right about all of a sudden, you know, freshwater fossils. Or maybe it was the opposite. I think the flooding would have come from something like the Black Sea area or something like that. Something like that. And so they went looking, they went down, and they actually found it. They found this like massive inversion, you know, freshwater, saltwater. Exactly the way they would have predicted if there was some kind of a, you know, catastrophic influx of foreign water that would have obliterated everything. And so I think he wrote a book about that.
No, what I find really interesting is the geology behind the biblical plagues in Egypt. You know, there is actually a lot of geological evidence that basically shows that 9 of the 10 plagues, you know, the last plague was the death of every firstborn or something, but there's a lot of geological evidence that suggests that the first 9 plagues were caused by a massive, what's it called, a caldera forming event on a Greek island called Santorini. So this would be the biggest geological event since the last ice age, where you had a massive earthquake and the island of Santorini basically split in half, and half of it fell into the ocean, causing it's called a caldera in geological terms, but it basically a huge gap, you know, a massive abyss where all of the water would have first drained into this abyss, including water from the Red Sea. So that would explain why, that would be one possible explanation for how the Red Sea parted. And then imagine all those billions of tons of water swishing around in this caldera, and then it would have formed a tsunami which swept back across hundreds of miles, drowning the Pharaoh's army, and then you would have had a massive plume of smoke from the volcanic eruption that would have gone up, way up into the atmosphere, blocked the sunlight for maybe several weeks or months, and then you would have had a chain of events that would lead to the death of the entire ecosystem in the Nile, you know, causing, you know, rivers of blood.
Not actual.
Well,
Or maybe
Bil-
algae
millions
blooms or whatever it is,
millions
or-
of dead fish. You know, once the bottom of the food chain dies, the fish can't feed. They die. You get a river full of blood. Then you get swarms of locusts and frogs, and I forget the exact chain of sequences. But this actually happened in California in 1980. Mount St. Helens erupted. And it was a tiny eruption in comparison to the one that would have happened in Santorini, and you know. But then you've got problems of dating the Exodus from not the Exodus. Is it the Exodus? No, you see, I haven't read the Bible in a long time. But there's the whole biblical story, you know, with Moses taking the Israelites out of Egypt and the Red Sea parting. You can't use the Bible as you can't get any real sort of time frame from the Bible, but there is a lot of evidence to suggest this
There's a
event
huge
took
industry
place.
in inventing theories for how these events in the Bible could really have happened. I wonder to what extent they're all just so stories.
What always intrigues me
What seems more plausible to you though? A massive earthquake on a Greek island, or God punishing the Egyptians for enslaving?
Well, I think
Well,
the point is
because
more than
it's
somebody just
plausible.
make it up. Just
And they're all entirely plausible stories, but there is a vested interest in trying to prove these Bible stories true. Therefore, the whole Bible is true. Therefore, God exists.
What intrigues me is
All the rest of it.
quite a number of sightings of people who claim that they've actually found the original Noah's Ark. And what's really interesting about all those stories is that all of those people who found them were all evangelical Christians. Now, what are the chances of that? And that really is my point. I mean, these people.
So wondering how many force
all these people have decided what they want to see.
There is somewhere that apparently if you ask somebody if they found the ark and there's somebody and ask them to describe it, they say, well, it's a boat, whatever, it's automatically a hoax because an ark would actually have been kind of a box. It would have been a big box.
A very, very big box.
Or like in Indiana Jones, like in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Or in Raiders of the Lost Box.
we're mixing our.
Yeah, but I mean like the Ark of the Covenant, right?
Oh
It's a
yeah,
box.
so we are. Yeah.
Yes, it's
Two
big.
arcs in the Bible.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Raiders of the Box sounds.
Not got that texture
That's
though.
like something you'd get downstairs.
And there's also there's also the famous
Is
Pandora's
box
Ark.
yet another euphemism?
Box is a British term, I think. Sports people use different box.
That's only one of them, actually.
Yeah, bollocks is a British term as well, though, isn't it?
Do you know bollocks in the States? Yeah. And then they
Only in Guy Ritchie movies.
Yeah.
What's the equivalent then?
Balls, I suppose.
Balls. Yeah.
Nuts, maybe.
Kahunas. I don't know. You've got Americans here.
Yeah, balls or nuts. I think. I mean, you have the certain, you know, related terms that come, you know, so you have huevos comes from down south, from Mexico.
Right.
Huevos.
Huevos and cojones.
Cojones I've heard, but that's Mexican, isn't it? Or